Hello and welcome to Mastery Tutoring. On this video we're going to be doing question 1 of 2017 Department of Basic Education Final Exam question paper. We are given the following information. Well, in question 1 we're required to solve for x. So right now we're going to start with question 1.1.1. It says solve for x squared plus 9x plus 14 is equal to 0. So this is 1.1.1. Right. So, this is a very simple, straightforward question. We're going to start with, we're just going to jump right ahead and do factorization. So, with factorization, you have to start with the brackets. And then you have to look for factors of x squared, factors of 14 that are going to work here. So, the factors of x squared is going to be x times x, and the factors of 14 is going to be 2 times 7, right? And then now we're going to apply them. We're going to put them on our opened brackets here. So this is going to be 7, and this is going to be 2. Or you can swap them if you like. So this is going to be plus. Therefore, we solve these variables. X is going to be negative 7, or x is going to be negative 2. This is like pretty basic, it's not something that you can stress over. And now we're going to move to 1.1.2. 1.1.2. So we're required to solve for x for that expression there. X squared 9x minus 3 is equal to 0. And then they also informed us that we need to make sure that we correct our answer to 2 decimal places. So if we were to apply quadratic equation, if we were to attempt to apply a quadratic equation on this equation, it wouldn't work because of the factors of 4x squared and the factors of minus 3. They wouldn't be in such a way that you'd be able to get 9x in the positive 9x in the middle there. So the alternative method that we're going to use is the quadratic equation. So quadratic equation is given as follows. Now I want you to remember, right? The quadratic equation is applicable for a quadratic equation, and a quadratic equation should be in this form: ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. I'm going to try and relate each and every letter here on this quadratic equation with what we given there on that equation there. So the a is going to be 4, the b is going to be 9, and the c is going to be minus 3. Now we can come and shoot all these letters into this quadratic formula here. A is 4. So this is supposed to be 4, and then C is 3. Two times 4. Now x is going to be minus 9 plus or minus. Now put this whole thing into a calculator. It should give you the square root of 1.9 all over 8. And then x is going to be minus 9 minus 129 divided by 8, or x is going to be minus 9 plus square root of 129 over 8. Now this, when you punch it in your calculator, it should give you an answer of 2.54. Now we're only going to take two numbers after comma as as per the instruction. So now this is going to be, x is going to be equals to 0.29. These are our roots. So we've solved question 1.1.2. But then alternatively, you could have solved this question by applying the completing the square. So I think we should also look into that. It will help you understand, how to do square, and then you're gonna have options of which one to go with, So the alternative method. So we were given 4x squared plus 9x minus 3 equals to 0. For me to edit this, it's going to be 9. Okay, cool. So now the first rule of completing the square, we have to divide the whole equation by 4 because the coefficient of x squared needs to be 1, positive 1. So divide the whole equation by 4. Here we're going to be left with x squared plus 9 over 4x minus 3 over 4, which is equal to 0. Now we're going to take this guy, negative 3 over 4, to the other side. When you do that, we are left with squared plus 9 over 4, x is equal to 3 over 4. Now we're going to take the coefficient of the coefficient of x, we're going to multiply it by half, and then we're going to edit both sides, on the left hand side and then also on the right hand side. So doing that, so we multiply it by half, and then we square it, and do it what we do on the left hand side, we have to do. So this side is going to be times, almost forgot the 3 over 4. Okay, so now this becomes x squared plus 9 over 4x plus 1 over 8. Now we're not going to multiply this one out. We're not going to multiply this exponent into the bracket. We have to leave it as a fraction as it is. And then now this is going to be 3 over 4 plus. Now this one we can easily simplify. Therefore this is going to be 81 over 64. So now we need to factorize what's on the left hand side of the equal sign. So you open two brackets, and then the factors of x squared is going to be x and x. You basically factors, you put one here, you put one there, then you take these factors again, you put one here, you put one there. You don't even think about it, just the procedure. You have to check if it is really going to give you what is middle there, because definitely the way this method has been designed, it's in such a way that definitely you're going to get this sign here. So you basically you're going to take this sign, the plus here, you drop it down here, and then you take it and multiply it with that, and then the answer that you get, to put it there. So positive times positive is going to be positive. There you go. And then this is going to be equal to, now on the other side, when you add 3 over 4 plus 81 over 64, is going to give you 129 over 64. Now this is just a repetition. We can factorize it. We can group it into one side, put in brackets, and then we square it. This is 129 over 64. Now obviously we're not looking for this, so therefore we're looking for x. We're trying to solve for x, so therefore we need to remove this squared. We put square root sign both sides. So This is how our answer is going to look like. I mean, our step is going to look like. Therefore, this squared sign is going to take off that exponent of 2. Then you're just left with x plus over 8 is equals to square root of 129 over 8. So now this is what happens after we've put the squared sign. And remember, the moment you put a squared sign, you need to put a plus or minus. I almost forgot there. So we need to put that plus or minus, and then as well as this here. This side we need to put plus or minus. And then now we're going to take this 9 over 8 to the other side. So you're left with minus. So x is equals to minus 9 over 8 plus or minus square root of 129 over 8, which I can simply write it as negative 9 plus or minus 129 over 8, because the denominator is the same. Just make one denominator and put everything, the numerator as one long number. Okay, now we're going to separate these two with respect to the plus or minus signs there. The first one is going to be minus 9 minus square root of 1 over 8, and then the next one is going to be minus 9 plus square root of 129 over 8. Therefore, when you punch this in your calculator, it should give you negative 2.54, or x should be positive 0.29. Now these answers are similar to answers we got after we used the quadratic equation, but then remember, this method, completing the square, is longer than the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula, it's designed in such a way that you don't waste time. You just jump straight to the answer. As long as you know all your coefficients, your a, your b, and your c, it's easy to get to the answer. But then this one, there are so many steps in it, so it's even easier to make mistakes. So if I were to advise you, if I were to give an advice, would be that you go with the quadratic equation, unless it is stated on the equation that you need to use completing the square. So now we're going to move to the next question. So the next question that we're going to be doing is 1.1.3, and then we're given x squared minus 5, which is under a square root, and then it's equals to 2 into square root of x. So we need to solve for x for this one as well. So now, according to the rules of mathematics, for us to solve for x, we need to get rid of this square root here, and then as well as that one. So the only way to get rid of it is if we could square the left hand side and square the right hand side. So this is going to look like this. So you see squared Now this whole thing is going to be, now the square or the 2 there on top, it'll get rid of that square root sign there, and the same thing goes with that. So you're going to have x squared minus 5 is equals to, now here the 2 will become a 4 because it's squared. So each and every number inside the brackets gets an exponent of 2. So 2 squared is going to be 4, and then square root of x to the power 2 is just x. So it gets rid of the square root sign. So now we can take this 4x to this side, to the left hand side, it becomes minus 4x minus 5. Okay, so this is our equation. Then we can simply factorize this. The factors of x squared is going to be x and x. The factors of 5 is going to be 5 and 1. Those are the only factors that we have here. And therefore we're going to drop this sign here. We take the sign, we multiply it with that, it becomes a positive. There's our factorization now. And then we go on to solve for x. So x is going to be minus 1, or x is going to be 5. But now when you look at this, right, if you were to take negative 1 and put it in the square root sign there, what answer would you get? So this is the question that you need to ask yourself after solving this part of the question, right? So it was given to us that we're given this x squared minus 5 under a square root sign should be 2. But then now think about this, right? If you put a negative 1 there, so let's say you put a negative 1 squared minus 5. This is going to be negative 4 under a square root sign. So, and according to mathematics, this is non-real. Imaginary number. It's a number it is a number known as an imaginary number. So this should never happen, and this is unacceptable in mathematics, well, in this solution. So negative 1 can't be the root for this, right? Therefore, we're going to conclude that x should never be equal to negative 1, but x should be just 5. The answer here is going to be 5. Is our answer there? Just 5. Okay, so right now we are going to move to the next question. The next question is question 1.2. Now, question 1.2, it's a simultaneous equation question. So we are required to solve for x and y. Now we're going to take the first equation and then we name it equation 1, and take the second equation, which is x squared plus 2xy minus y squared is equals to minus 2. We name it equation 2. Now we need to have another equation, which is going to be equation 3. So it's going to be formed. We want to form equation 3 from equation 1. So from equation 1, I took the y to the right hand side, and then I took the x back to the left hand side, and then I just swapped them. So y is equal to 3x minus 4. Now this is equation 3. I'm going to now substitute equation 3 to equation 2. So where there's y, I'm going to put 3x minus 4. I'm going to simplify this further. Let me repeat these brackets because it's square. This 2 gives me 7x squared. I'm going to FOIL this. It's going to give me 9x squared. I'm going to take the 2 back to the left hand side. It's going to become positive. This 2 gives me minus 2x squared, and then this 2 gives me plus 16x, and therefore this 2 gives me minus 14. And then I can divide the whole equation by negative 2. When I do that, I get x squared 8x plus 7 is equal to 0. Now I can go ahead and factorize this. Factor of x squared is x and x. Factors of 7 is 7 and 1. So this is going to be minus, and this is going to be minus as well. So both of them are going to be minuses. So therefore, the answer is going to be 1, or x is going to be 7. Now I'm going to take these x values, right, and substitute them in equation 3 to get the y values. Substitute equation 1, substitute x equals to 1 into equation 3, and then also substitute x equals to 7 into equation 3. From 3, so those are the roots. So x is equals to 1, or x is equals to 7, y is equals to negative 1, or y is equals to 17. So that's the solution for this question. Now we're going to move to the next question. The next question is 1.1.3. So we are given f of x, which is equals to x squared plus 8x plus 16, and then we're required to solve for x if f of x is greater than 0. If f of x is greater than 0, it means that x squared plus 8x plus 16 is greater than 0. Now we're going to go and raise this. So the corresponding equation is going to be x plus 4 x plus 4 is equal to 0. Therefore, x is equal to minus 4. This is the corresponding equation. Now we're going to look for the values of x for which the given statement x plus 4 into x plus 4 is greater than 0. So this is going to be my number line, and then this is going to be point minus 4. So I'm going to think of any value that is less than 4 that I can include it here. So I can say negative 5. I can choose negative 5. So this is the value that you need to choose at the back of your head. You don't have to write it down, but I'm going to write it down for the sake of explaining here. And then we also need to choose one value that is greater than 4. So I'm just going to choose positive 5 there. It has to be greater than negative 4 rather. So I'm going to substitute now. When you substitute, okay, let me divide this. Now, when you substitute negative 5 here, what is the answer? What is the sign of the answer that you get here? So you get a negative. You don't even have to write a negative. You don't even have to write the value. So if you put negative 5 there, you're going to get a negative 1. If you put any number that is less than 4, you're going to get a negative answer. If you put negative 10, you're going to get a negative 6. If you put a negative 20, you're going to get a negative 16. So any number that is less than minus 4, it is going to be a negative answer. So therefore, we just put a negative there. So the same thing goes there. You put a negative 5 there, the answer here is going to be negative. We go to the other side where is the positive side. Now, you put 5 or any number greater than 5, your answer is going to be positive. Same thing goes when you put 5 or any number that is greater than 5. Well, any number that is greater than minus 4. So it could be minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, any number. So as long as it's greater than minus 4, your answer is going to be positive there. So now, when you multiply these two, so negative times negative, whatever number that you got here, when you multiply them together, your answer here is going to be positive. Same thing goes when you multiply these numbers here, your answer here is going to be positive. So now this agrees with what we given there. So it simply means that if you check on the question above, so when you multiply these two brackets, it says that your answer should be greater than 0. And you're getting a positive. A positive is greater than 0. Same thing goes, we get a positive, and a positive is greater than 0. Therefore, this statement is true. It is supported. So this is true. This is true. So therefore, x should be less than negative 4. Any number that is less than negative 4, the statement is going to be true. Or x should be greater than negative 4. Any number that is greater than negative 4, the statement is going to be true. The inequality is going to be true. So now when you put it in a proper form, x should be I think this is fine, yes. X should be less than negative 4, and then be greater than 4. Negative 4 rather. So that is our answer to this question. Now you're going to move to question 1.3.2. Question 1.3.2, it says, for which values of p will f of x equals to p have two unequal negative roots? So we have two conditions that we need to consider here. The first one is that they have to be, both of them have to be unequal, and then they have to be negative. So we need to take that into consideration. F of x is equals to x squared plus 8x plus 16. It's going to be equals to p. Now we have to take the p back to the left side. So this is a constant, as p is a constant on its own. It's going to be equal to 2. Now we're going to calculate, we're going to determine the discriminant. Discriminant is given by by b squared minus 4ac, where we know that our a is going to be the coefficient of x squared there. B is going to be the coefficient of x, which is 8, and then our c is going to be the coefficient of, it's not going to be the coefficient, rather, it's going to be the constant, c minus p. So now we're going to substitute this, these letters, the numbers representing these letters into this formula for discriminant. This is going to be 8 squared minus 4, b, a is 1, and then c is equals to 16 minus p. Simplifying this further, we're going to get 64. And then we'll apply this 4 times 1 into the bracket. So this is our discriminant. The discriminant is equals to 4p. So I'm going to break this solution into two parts, right? So I'm going to break into part 1 is going to be real and unequal roots. So real and equal roots, whether real and equal roots. We know that for real and equal roots, this discriminant has to be greater than 0. So the discriminant is greater than 0, we're going to have 4p, which is going to be greater than 0. Therefore, p must be greater than 0. This is part 1 of the solution. Now, for negative roots, for this real and unequal to be negative, there's another condition that must hold, right? The square should be less than 8. Now you're asking yourself as to where is this 8 coming from? When you solve the quadratic equation for this question, the quadratic equation was going to look like something like this. So now I'm going to use the equation that says x squared plus, well, let me just scroll up and show you. We're going to use this equation. So we're going to put this in the quadratic equation and see how it looks like. Now the whole thing is going to be equals to 4p. So, but anyway, let me put it just to make sure that you don't get lost. So this is going to be equals to the number under the square root sign is going to be equal to 8. So now, for us, for the roots to be negative, it means that 4p should never be greater than 8. Because if it is, for example, 4p is equal to 9, therefore it means that the roots are going to be positive. Well, any number greater than 8, the roots are positive, and then we don't want that to happen. So this is how we restrict it. We see, so this is where this part comes in. So discriminant should be less than 8. But then we know that the discriminant is equals to 4p. So square root of 4p should be less than 8. Now we're solving for p, so we're going to both sides squared. Now 4p should be less than 64. Therefore p should be less than 16. Therefore the p should be less than 16 but greater than 0. Now this is the answer to question 1.3.2. I hope you enjoyed this the solution to this question. For those new to our channel, please subscribe and share the link with your friends, your social media groups, that is your WhatsApp and your Facebook groups, And thank you very much once again for joining me. I hope you learned something from this. Have a nice day. Goodbye.